I would do some rounds against just like Heart Steel guys where my Qs were hitting for like 4K.
Oh shit.
It was so ridiculous.
That's true. Also, you're like pretty good at getting fruits, huh? Because you have an auto reset, you can repel to them.
Yep.
I can see it.
Yeah. Because dude, I don't know, playing Earn Summoner Rift is just like not
a good experience.
Play. Yeah. So bad. Just try to kill my Raptor camp. Just 30 seconds later, still killing my Raptor camp.
Yeah.
All right, we're ready for you.
Cool.
We already started.
Yeah.
Cool. Doesn't have to be synced.
Okay, go ahead.
Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Meteos, and today we have another special guest, the king of Twitter himself. Go ahead and introduce yourself for us.
Oh, you already did? I mean, that's what I go by these days, the king of Twitter. More people probably know me as Vulcan. I'm the support for Cloud9 LCS.
Cool. So, how long have you been playing League? When did you start out?
I started when I was 11, so that was like season 1. I guess now that's 13 years ago.
Yeah, it's getting long, man. I try not to think about it. What about LCS? When you first joined?
2019 was when I first started. I subbed in 2018, 2 games for Clutch, but I was a starter in 2019.
Cool. And we've been asking this one. Since you've started playing as a pro, what's the longest break you've ever taken?
From playing the game?
From League, yeah.
I think it's probably 2 weeks. I think that was last year after summer. I think 2 weeks, and that was it.
Were you on vacation? Were you just...
I wasn't on vacation. I wasn't anywhere where I didn't have access to a PC, but I just didn't want to look at it. Yeah, I just needed a break, and I felt like it was probably the right thing to do at that time.
For sure.
Yeah.
That was after FlyQuest?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I think a question a lot of people have, you can talk about as much or as little as you want, but FlyQuest last year, you guys on paper were I would say the front runners. Everyone in their early predictions were saying at least top 2, if not top 1 team. But, obviously it didn't come together. What was that like?
Yeah, it was rough because I agree with you that we're definitely top 2. I was already visualizing FlyQuest against Cloud9 in the finals. I thought it would be either us or C9 at the time, and I wasn't super convinced that we were going to be first for sure, but I was our team is so good. We're going to be in finals, and then it'll be a banger match, go game 5 if it needs to, and we'll see then. So going from that idea that I had about the team and where we would get and how far we would go to how it, turned out, that was pretty rough to come to terms with, especially throughout the split, because it's not over yet, right? You're still playing the games, but after every game or every weekend where you're another 0-3 or another week that's just shit and the games are awful, and you're kind of realizing that, damn, we're really we're just shit. And we were supposed to be super good. All the players, you look at them are okay, top 3 in the role, this guy might just be the best. And then you look at the team and how we play the games, and it's wow, that doesn't compute, that doesn't correlate. That shouldn't be how a team with all those players perform. So it was rough to, I guess, not stay motivated, but stay focused on trying to get better at that point in the split. When it 3 quarters done and we need to win every game to possibly make playoffs, and that's top 8, right? That's not even top 6, that's top 8. And we had to look at the maths to see if we would be able to qualify and stuff. So that was something, yeah.
Yeah,
Morale's
that's got to be super demoralizing, because what I had heard, at least from other players, is that you guys were doing well in scrims. You were winning a lot of scrims, but something just didn't translate onto stage.
Yeah, we were doing pretty good in scrims. Because in LCS, there's always a 2 or 3 tiers of teams where the bottom teams will scrim against each other, the top teams will scrim against each other, and then the people in the middle of the pack will alternate probably.
Yeah.
But we were definitely in the top echelon of scrims. So we were giving teams good practice. They didn't have oh, these guys are 9th place, we shouldn't be scrimming them, they're a waste of time. They were still okay, these guys are good, they give us good practice, let's keep playing them. We had success in scrims. But yeah, it just didn't translate.
Yeah, that's rough. I've been there. I've been top bracket of scrims, bottom bracket of scrims. You know, it's when you get into that bottom bracket, it is hard to improve. There's some games down there. It's good to hear you guys didn't end up there at least. So, you know, anyway, looking forward, any lessons you feel like you were able to take from that?
I think more emphasis on like team culture, how you're like able to set like maybe the values that the players value. I feel like there's a better word to phrase this, but like the values that people think are important, how you like approach the team, like the environment, stuff that is encouraged versus stuff that should be like not allowed, or like if something happens, someone calls it out, that kind of thing, where you can like make sure that the team moves in the right direction, not only in the game but also outside of it, so people feel comfortable when they go to work and play together, and they feel like everyone is super bought into the system and stuff like that. Definitely a big thing. As for lessons like for the game, it's kind of sad to say, but I didn't learn much from that split, which is I guess kind of expected. And yeah, it's hard to learn a lot in terms of gameplay when we're like basically going the whole split trying to like put a band-aid on things and just trying to close the hole, or like that letting the water come into the boat and shit. Then
you know, it's like the whole thing is just like one short-term fix after another. You're like, I know this isn't the right way to play, but maybe we can beat Dignitas this week doing this kind of thing. Like, yep, been there. Not fun. Definitely. It's so different from playing on one of those teams where you feel like everything's meshing and you're like thinking long-term, like, you know, how do we grow as a team? So, yep, definitely feel that. Definitely hard to improve. You got a chance to see the new jersey for next split?
I did, yeah.
What do you think?
It's good. I think it's nice. I think I like wearing black. I think that's what we were wearing in 2020 when we had that run, so I'm seeing like a connection there.
The dark colors.
Yeah, I think it's nice.
Cool. I see you've got some nice one-piece swag there.
Yeah, I think this merch line is super nice. David, our manager, sent me this link with all the pictures of different merch, and he asked me like, which ones do you want? And I was gonna put every single one, but I had to hold myself back a little bit, and I just selected a few. But this is super nice.
Yeah, it's got to be one of the best esports drops potentially ever. Going forward, how was your off season? You got it's such a long break when that kind of split happens before you actually play again. Yeah,
so I had to like try to find stuff to do, I guess. So I stayed in LA a little bit after. I waited until LCS finals because that was happening on the East Coast. I forget which city exactly. But I had to stay over there because we had content and stuff. So I did that. Then flew over to after party where I hung out with some of the C9 guys and other friends in the LCS. That was fun. Then I went home for like a month. I wasn't doing all that much, to be honest. I was like waiting for time to pass and trying not to go crazy. Yeah. Playing like a good amount of solo queue so I can keep my form, but also not too much that I like make myself sick of it, because I still like playing League, but you know, if I'm playing solo queue like 8 hours a day every day for 4 or 5 months in a row, I'm probably not going to be in the best shape to go into the season.
It's rough, man. Like, it's probably because, you know, Euros and Challenger, but I've been a little below that bracket. And, man, some of those games feels like, you know, you're not even playing League. You're just playing, like, who has the player that loses their mind, and you don't want to be that team.
Yeah.
It's solo queue is definitely some kind of monster. I don't know. But, yeah, it's good you're able to not fall into that. Sometimes stare into the abyss, et cetera, et cetera. How's your ping? You're in Quebec?
Yeah.
Is it Montreal?
It's near Montreal. It's like an hour and a half away from there. So the ping is like, now it's like 27. I feel like it's been getting better in the past few years. Like, I don't know what, like the infrastructure of the wires or whatever.
So, like my tin hat theory, I have no actual basis for it. But so when League first came out, I don't know if you remember, but like, you could never get below 7 ping. Like, even if you were playing on LAN, your ping would say 7. And I don't know if it was just like a graphical thing, like a visual thing, but I think they just got rid of that 7 ping for everyone, because now when you play on LAN, you're at 1 ping. Like, if you look at Korean streams, they're always at 1. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like everyone's ping shifted down by 7, but I'm not convinced it's actually faster. Like,
Oh,
Like I
it's like
feel
a
like
visual
now,
thing.
yeah, we're like we go from 60 ping to 53, but I don't know. Like, granted, it's hard to feel that. Like maybe it actually did improve, but like, I don't know. That's my theory anyway.
It doesn't sound that crazy. I believe it because I don't. I mean, obviously, like you said, it's like small, so you don't really notice it. But I haven't noticed anything. But since I've been playing at least like 2018, it's always been 1 ping for LAN. So it's probably was before that the 7 ping change, at least for when you
Yeah,
play LCS
that
and
one
stuff.
might have been a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, just going through your LCS career a bit, you left C9 back in what's
2020 at the end of 2021.
at the end of 2021,
Mm-hmm.
and you went to EG.
Yeah.
And then you guys won that split.
Yeah.
What was that like? You know, leaving C9, joining a new team, and just crushing.
Yeah, that was like there's a lot of ups and downs in that split. Even though we ended up actually winning spring, because first there was still lock-in at that point. I think that was the last iteration of lock-in, 2022 spring, and we were doing like very good. Granted, there was a lot of teams that had visa issues, so it wasn't like full starters in every team.
True.
But we made it to finals. We got swept in finals by TL. They were like the super team of that year, so that was not too surprising. It was I think it was Whippos and Torn, Bjergsen, Ansama core team, and they kind of shit on us in finals. But then, yeah, like throughout the split, we were 9-9, I think, after regular season, so we finished like maybe 5th seed, I think it was.
That sounds right.
Yeah, and then we had the crazy turnaround in playoffs. That was very, I mean, a lot of fun, a lot of hype.
That was like the Danny Pentakill Baron steal, right?
Yeah, that's how we started the
That was
final
insane.
weekend. Yeah.
That was such an unreal moment.
I wish I could. Well, I was playing the game, so I guess the people who were watching wish they were playing. But I wish I could have been like I could go back, be a fan that was watching that live without knowing the outcome,
Yeah.
and like with all the energy around you, all the fans around you. How cool that would have been.
Oh,
Because I was wearing my headset and it was like shaking. Because you always hear a little bit of when you're playing the game if there's a
Yeah.
really hype moment. But I wonder what it was like in the crowd.
Dude, I don't know if they still have it. I heard they were trying to fix it, but like, I know in the early days of LCS, going off that like vibration thing, Baron would make so much bass. So like, you'd just be sitting there in LCS, like nothing's happening, and you're like, my desk is shaking, guys. Like we should check Baron. like you just could not sneak Baron because like it would just start creating an earthquake for everyone. Is it still like that?
I don't think it's like that anymore, but I feel like it was when I started playing. I feel like that was a thing. Like I was
Yeah.
thinking about sometimes. Like, wait
It
a
was
second,
so-
I'm feeling something. I'm gonna go check.
Yeah,
here.
but like nobody would want to acknowledge it because you're just like, yeah, I feel like it feels kind of like you're cheating. Like
It is,
you're having
yeah.
info you're not supposed to have. Where you're like, should we word Baron? Like,
It kind of is, yeah. I remember on that note, there was a conversation with one of my coaches. I think it was on EG, where he was saying that like you should be allowed, like you're technically allowed to look at the fans when you're playing. Like if you're on stage, they're in front of you. Like it's allowed for both teams to look at the crowd and like try to get information from that. So if you think that they might be on Baron, like you might as well just like take a quick peek. And I just didn't. That did not sit right with me. I was like, nah.
I'm glad that's never like been a thing, because it's like there would be like competitive integrity issues there, right? It's like,
yeah.
you know, someone's coach is in the audience or whatever, and they're like, you know, waving their hand a certain way.
Right
It's
hand
like,
means something, left hand means something
yeah,
else.
it's like, oh, I wonder where their jungler is. Oh, that guy's raising his right hand. Maybe I should ward.
That's
I don't
ball
know.
lane right there.
Yeah, so I'm glad that hasn't happened. I hope it never does. But
Hopefully it hasn't happened, I guess.
yeah, I mean, maybe it has. Maybe, I don't know. Haven't heard of it. Hopefully it never happened, but
Yeah.
definitely one of those things that I guess could. Coming into 2024, you're back on C9. So how did that talk go?
That was I guess pretty smooth talk. I've had it in my mind that like if it was possible, I'd like to be able to come back to Cloud9, especially after the EG thing where they decided to cut the budget and they like sent 4 of the 5 players away to different teams. Unfortunately, that was like in the middle of the season where not many teams actually go through changes. So there was less options. Cloud9 wasn't one of them. They were just off MSI, and they weren't going through any changes at that time. So, but yeah, I had it in my mind like since then, I'd say. And talk was super smooth. Like me and Jack caught up. It was super nice to talk to him again. We talked about like the team, like his goals. We talked about how like which direction esports is going, maybe because like it's slowing down, esports winter, all of that. I don't know too much about that side of things, but we talked about that and what's his plans for the next few years. And yeah, I mean, we aligned on our goals. Like I said, I was like very much looking forward to having the chance to come back here, because it just feels like home to me in esports, I guess. Even though like I had only been here 2 years, it was still, I think it was the longest period of time where I was working, like living in the same space in a team. So I was in Clutch for 2 years, but I was 1 year in Academy, 1 year in LCS. And then I was on Cloud9 for 2 years. Then I was on EG for 1.5 years. So that was like less than C9. And also we were like moving between the 2 years. And then FlyQuest was super short. So yeah. And C9 was definitely the team that I feel like we were the highest level team that I played with in 2020. And so, yeah, it felt super natural to come back, and talk with Jack and the staff and the rest of the team was super smooth.
Awesome. You know, I experienced the same thing with C9. I feel like most players who play here have, where it has such a different vibe from other teams. You know, on other teams, it can feel like you're just coworkers. You know, you're clocking in, you're clocking out, you're cordial to one another.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas C9 to me has always kind of felt more like a family. It's like you're really in it together. Jack is like the esports dad. Yeah, so it's a great vibe. Glad you had a similar experience.
Yeah.
And yeah, this next split should be pretty good for you guys. Our roster's looking real good on paper. And you've played with almost everyone on the team before, right? You've played with Blabber, Fudge, Jojo on EG.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the new one for you is Berserker.
Yeah. Yeah, so I've played with Fudge for 1 year, Blabber for 2, and like a week if you count scouting rounds in 2018.
True.
Or 2017 even. Jojo for 1.5 years, and then yeah, Berserker's the new guy for me. So that's gonna take a bit of adjustment, I guess, because he's obviously the newest one, and also the fact that he's Korean, I have to be able to talk in a way that he can understand me, and I mean him as well. Like his English, sometimes I have a hard time. So I was playing a Champions Q game yesterday, and he was telling me to hard shove, and I had no idea what the fuck he was saying. I was like, I needed a translator mid game. Someone else understood, so they told me. But that'll be adjustment for the both of us. But so far it's been going well. He's super, I guess he's super knowledgeable about the way he wants to play the game, which even if it's like, I mean, it's most of the time right, but even in the times that it's wrong, it's good that he is so, not convinced, but like he has a strong opinion. So then we have a conversation that we're able to hold where he can say what he thinks and I can say why I think it's not like that or how it's different. And then we at least have that conversation. So that's super good. And he's a very confident player. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that confidence for sure radiates in his play. Makes sense with what you were saying about like how he wants to play the game, because I think that's a great trait in players, because like you were saying, even if it's not right, they at least have a reason for believing it. They're not just doing it because, I don't know if you've seen this, but I've seen a lot of players who, the way they play, it's not even necessarily what they think is right, but it's like what they've been told to do. Like they're just trying their best to do what their coach told them to do, which usually doesn't translate very well on actual play. It's like, a lot of hesitation, maybe some second guessing, not very clean, but like when you have that confidence, you're a lot of conviction in what you want to do. I think it really shows differently. Yeah,
I agree. And also on the point of like what they've been told to do by coaches, sometimes what I'll see in players, especially in like amateur level or academy, mostly like when playing Champions Q and they use comms, is players will communicate something that I feel like was something they learned through a coach, where it's like they'll say the word tempo or we like go this side or like do that, and it's like this idea that they've learned. But what happens then is that like you'll apply that situation to a lot of different times in the game where that's like, okay, that's good, but like how do we get there? Like that's not the right thing to focus on. You kind of need to have the steps how to get there. And I feel like that just made me think of Champs Q, which is like something that's been very present in my life recently because I've been playing that and everyone's talking about it and stuff.
Yeah, dude, when you said that, it reminded me of like when I first joined Optic. It was like their team, if I ever mentioned I was going for a crab, everyone on the team would like shout out like if they had prior or not. And I'm just like, what is going on here, man? Like, I'm just telling you where I'm going. Like,
They've been drilled.
yeah, they've been drilled. Like, you know, maybe they're generally went for some crabs they shouldn't have. I don't know. It was really, yeah, I had a very similar experience. I'm just like, what is happening right now, man? Like, should I not say I'm going for the crab? Like, do I have to sneak
Maybe
it?
next time I won't say.
Yeah. You mentioned Champions Key, though. You've been playing a lot of that, and that's all on the new patch, right?
Mm-hmm.
How's that been? I mean, it's one of the biggest preseason changes I think we've had in years.
Yeah, I mean, first off, it's not a little bit weird. It's very weird that it's not on live when we're starting LCS on it in less than 2 weeks, and it's not even on the live patch. I think it's going to be in 2 days that it's released. So it's weird, both for solo queue players who will just jump into ranked without knowing the changes very much, and it's weird for pros that we can only practice in Champs Queue, because even though Champs Queue is like a pretty good practice environment, it's not exactly the same vibe as just queuing for a solo queue game. Or even like I like to play normal games when there's big changes like that. I'll just play normal games with my friends and test out stuff, different champs and stuff. But I can't really do that now. I can only play Champs Queue where everyone's in comms. You have the option to opt out if you don't want to be in comms, but you know, if you want to have a better chance of winning, if the other team is using 5 people in comms, then you should probably join unless unless you don't mind having that disadvantage. So there's that aspect. And yeah, I mean, it's very, very big changes, like the map changes. I'm not a big fan of the ball lane now with how the walls are, because I think it's disadvantageous for red side, especially if you're getting pushed in. The way it is like it's way easier now for blue side ball lane to walk into the enemy jungle, so they can both ward, invade, and look for dives way easier, because mid laner can just connect through there, the ball lane goes there. There's a new like hole in the wall even by the Grump, right? There's a little bush there. You can go like behind the turret super easily. So it's very hard for red side to be able to breathe if you have a losing matchups. So that's a bit weird. Like, I don't want the game to be in a point where the team who has side selection in a best of 5 has like a 60-70% chance of winning just because you have an extra blue side game or something like that. I think that would be quite bad for competitive integrity and, you know, the game as a competitively. So
yeah, on that point actually, what's your thought on, you know, in competitive play, especially like Worlds this last year, there was a string of blue side winning like every single game in series. How much of that do you think comes down to the drafting order, and how much of that do you think comes down to like the actual geometry of the map?
That's a good question. I've always felt like blue side is better. I don't notice it while I'm playing red side. I'm not like, fuck, my HUD is in the way. Like I lost this fight because of my HUD. But like if you're playing ball lane and your HUD is down here and the enemy champions are here, it's way better than when you're playing red side and the champions are like down here, and you have to like move your camera differently to not cover it by your HUD. So it's like a little bit advantageous for blue side, I guess, and that's just how the game is. But obviously, like, since I don't notice it, maybe it's not anymore, and I've gotten used to it enough to the point where it doesn't bother me. So I guess it must be the drafting, but I can't say I'm like familiar enough with how drafting went for Worlds teams, or like the meta, why it was better for one side or the other. So maybe one of the C9 players who attended would be better fitted for this one. Yeah,
I mean, it's always just been something that like I've thought about. Like, I think it'd be kind of interesting to see, like, what if they disconnected it? Like, the first pick could go to red side sometimes. Like, you know, it wasn't like the pick was tied with the side of the map, but, you know, kind of random tangent. I was just curious what you thought about it. So a question I was asked, which I have no idea of, but they're adding that new objective where the Rift Herald goes. It's like little void somethings, like little...
The Grubs.
The Grubs.
Yeah. We've been calling them the Kevins. I don't know where it comes from.
The Kevins. Yeah. Okay. That's good. Haunster. What other Kevins do we have in LCS?
Oh, true. I don't know. I heard Blabber and Mithy say that, and I didn't catch... I don't know if they explained where it came from, but it was for Berserker, because I think Grubs, you had a hard time saying it, so then he was like, oh, you can just say Kevins, and now it's stuck, I guess.
Nice. I like that, Kevin's. Is that like a big deal? Is that a big objective? Because I remember in the preseason video it said like if you get all 6, something crazy happens.
Yeah, that's the interesting part is that it's not so big of an advantage if you get like 3 or 4 Kevins, but if you're able to get, I think it's 5. That's like
Oh, it's
already
5?
pretty good, and 6 is like super. I don't know if it's OP yet. Like I'm not exactly sure, but getting 6 is like the big deal because then you can spawn grubs when you're pushing and like kill the turrets super fast. And so it's like a thing where you don't necessarily need to contest the first spawn because they spawn twice.
Yeah.
If the enemy team gets 3, then like you kind of need to go there and secure 2 if you want to not let them get that huge advantage. So then it's interesting. I guess you can like concede the first ones, go fight the next ones. You can secure the first one to make it that you don't need to go to the next ones, and the enemy team needs to send resources there, so you can kind of plan around that. I like that part of the season change, I'd say.
Yeah, an idea I saw, might have just been in Twitch chat or something, but do you think there would be any reason for teams to like put their bottom, like their duo lane mid because of this? Because it's something that happened like years ago in the past, which I think right now one of the only actual gameplay things that's in the game that incentivizes going bot is like, that damage reduction on the turrets, where bot lane turrets, you'll lose a couple plates before 5 minutes. Like it doesn't have the 50% reduction, but do you think the Kevins are like valuable enough that you would send a duo mid to just control them, or is like not something anyone's tried? Is this secret strats? Doesn't even need to be in the video, but something I was asked about, and it is one of those things where sometimes in League people just they do things out of habit, and like they've just done it for so long they don't even know why they're doing it anymore. There's just bot lane goes bot, but. Do you think there could be any world where duos go somewhere else?
I could see it, yeah. If the Kevins end up being stronger than I like expect them to be, or like how I feel they are, then I could see a world where maybe not like from minute 1, but it kind of happens with Rift Herald where if you're both resetting on bot lane and mid, and your mid laner has TP, then it's very natural for the mid laner to go and catch bot while the bot lane goes mid, because then you have 5 men technically with the mid laner's TP at the Rift fight. And if the Grubs end up being that strong, then maybe it's a thing where you do that just a little bit earlier for that objective instead. So I could see it.
Coming into the split, you're going to be playing with Berserker. What were your impressions of him before playing with him?
Yeah, so I'm like kind of the playmaking type of support, right? Where I'm known for my engaged champs and stuff. So I'd say I'm like pretty good at seeing where or when enemy players make a mistake or like misstep, they step too far and stuff like that, or like where I feel like it's punishable. And I'd say that Berserker is like one of the players that is very hard to actually punish because he doesn't really like step too far or miss position or like put himself in a position where I can make that play. And it's not to say that he doesn't play like aggressive enough, because there's some players that will like, it's hard to punish technically, but they're like not doing damage.
Standing on their tier 2?
Yeah, they're sitting on their tier 2, or like they're giving prio, they're scared of getting ganked. Then that makes the game super easy. But he's like very good at getting a lead, getting resources, dealing damage, playing up in your face, and at the same time not giving you that angle to like go on him and get his flash or even get a kill. So definitely a frustrating player to play against.
Yeah, I mean, people been saying he's like one of the best AD carries ever in the region, which is cool. Glad he's on our team. And now that you're playing with him, has there been any like big differences from your preconceived notions of him versus how things have been, or is it like pretty in line?
I'd say that usually I guess he's not a rookie. I was gonna say usually in rookies they have like, kind of what I mentioned earlier about him, like they'll have less of an idea of how they want to play the game, but he is like super convinced, and he knows how the matchup should go. He's like watched the VODs about it, or he's played them before, so he has a very set idea of what he wants to do in lane, in the game, objectives and stuff. So it's super smooth, and I guess he's like won 2 trophies now, and he's been playing for 2 years in the LCS, so he's not a rookie anymore. But the amount of confidence and experience he has, even though he's only starting his third year at like a tier 1, because I think he played current challengers for like I don't know how long, but it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I'm really impressed with his English too. You know, a lot of imports come here and maybe don't fully immerse themselves in the culture. They need translators, but yeah, Berserker's been really impressive for what he's managed to do. And I know, like, playing with any like non-native English speakers, there's going to be like some learning as far as like how to communicate, you know, terms you can agree on. Sometimes, you know, there'll be like some nuance, or like you'll have different understandings of different phrases and whatnot. But has that communication been good? You feel like it's been bumpy?
No, it's
smooth?
been good. I think it's been so good that I've like not really not noticed, but I've not really changed the way I speak too much, because I felt like he understands most of what I'm saying. So sometimes I'll say something and he'll be like, "Huh? I don't know what that means." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's right." Like he's actually Korean and he hasn't been speaking English for very long. Like, "Oh, that's right." Like he's still learning the language, just because of how good his English really is.
Yeah, it was funny when I was sitting down with him earlier. I asked him about, you know, the new team and whatnot, and he was saying like, yeah, sometimes with Jojo and Vulcan, like, they talk so fast, they sound like rappers. I like that one.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's cool. Things are going well. I think you guys are probably going to crush. What are your expectations for this coming year with the team?
I mean, last year with FlyQuest, I had expectations. They weren't met. The process didn't go too well. So right now, I mean, I'm more focused on how to get to finals, how to be the best team we can be, and that's the most important right now. But I think on paper, if you look at the players, you look at the team we're on, Cloud9, you look at the staff we have around us, I think fans and ourselves, we should expect great things from this team. So I'm excited to get started in spring.
Nice. It's good to hear. As a C9 fan, like to hear the confidence, like to you know, win a few splits, maybe some international dubs, a world championship. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Vulcan, thank you for joining us. It was a pleasure to talk to you. Appreciate you taking the time. And to the viewers, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, all that good stuff. Be sure to comment down below with who you want to see next on the podcast, and we'll get them for you.
Maybe.
Faker.
Joe Biden.
We're doing a Polaroid picture. I
Okay.
tried a selfie with Berserker, and I don't even know how it turned out. We'll give it another shot.
All right. Whoa, it's falling off.
Yeah, we'll eventually see if that worked. Still
All
don't
right.
know about the other one.